Welcome to RTC's Transportation Cafe, a bi-monthly show focused on the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission's projects and programs. I'm George Dondero, your host today and Executive Director of the RTC, an agency governed by a 12-member board with representatives from all city and county jurisdictions, as well as the Transit District. The RTC mission is to plan for and fund an effective and robust multimodal transportation system, providing ways for people to get around efficiently, whether it is by driving, taking the bus, bicycle riding, walking, carpooling, or by other means. Our aim is to provide options, all of which are safe, convenient, and reliable. Today, we'll be discussing a planned bicycle and pedestrian trail network. The Monterey Bay Sanctuary Scenic Trail Network will be a multi-use transportation path for bicyclists and pedestrians. The trail network will span much of the coast of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, from the San Mateo, Santa Cruz County line to Pacific Grove in Monterey County. The RTC is leading the planning effort in Santa Cruz County, and the Transportation Agency for Monterey County is responsible for the Monterey projects. So joining us today are Corey Coletti, RTC Senior Transportation Planner and Bicycle Programs Project Manager, and Mike Sherrod, Project Manager with the RTC's selected consultant firm, RRM Design Group. RRM Design Group specializes in bicycle and pedestrian trail planning projects and will develop a master plan and an environmental review document for the trail network project. People love trails. They enjoy traveling without the anxiety of sharing the road with motor vehicles, which often travel at much higher speeds. Now that the RTC is finalizing the purchase of the Santa Cruz branch rail line, we have the possibility of building the much discussed rail trail. This is something the community has long awaited. So Corey, to start off, we've been talking about a number of different bike and pedestrian trail projects in Santa Cruz County, and there seems to be some overlapping goals. Can you break those down and tell us how the RTC is dealing with them?
Yeah, that's a great question, George. Thank you. There are a number of existing and proposed trail projects in Santa Cruz County aimed at serving bicyclists and pedestrians. Having to coordinate multiple bicycle and pedestrian trail projects is a wonderful problem to have. The existing trail projects are the Wilder Ranch bicycle pedestrian path, which is adjacent to Highway 1 in North Santa Cruz County. In the city of Santa Cruz, we have West Cliff Drive, and we also have the San Lorenzo River Levee bicycle and pedestrian path. And then in South County, we have the Watsonville Wetlands Slough Trails, as well as the Pajaro River Levee Trail. Trail projects that are proposed include the rail trail, the much anticipated rail trail that may run adjacent to the Santa Cruz branch rail line. Additionally, we have the coastal trail, and that may also use the rail right-of-way and may also use coastal alignments. The coastal trail may tie into a broader vision of a California coastal trail that would run from the Oregon to the Mexico borders. And finally, there's the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Trail, which you referenced earlier, and that is intended to go from Pacific Grove in Monterey County all the way to the northern end of Santa Cruz County. All these proposed projects are linked geographically, and all of these share the goal of providing bicyclists and pedestrians coastal access. So to best accomplish this goal, what we've done at the Regional Transportation Commission is to consolidate these projects in order so that we can take a comprehensive planning approach. And what this really means is that we folded these proposed projects into the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Scenic Trail Network project. And this trail network concept and approach is really meant to ensure that through the planning process, we're going to have the kind of connectivity between these different trail segments that will provide a very strong facility for bicyclists and pedestrians. The support approach will also enable us to seek additional funding in a more streamlined way, and combining resources, it really increases the overall efficiency of the planning process. As you mentioned, walking or bicycling on separated trails, especially along the coast, it's a wonderful experience. It allows us to enjoy coastal views, to hear, to smell, to really get a sense of the ocean, marine life, surfers, really all those experiences that make Santa Cruz a wonderful place to live or to visit.
Corey, who is this trail network going to serve, and how will their different needs be accommodated?
Well, one of the main objectives of this trail network is to serve as wide a variety of the population as possible. So we're looking at serving all age ranges, all user types, all abilities. We want to make sure that beginners as well as those more experienced have the ability to travel in a safe and convenient environment. We want to serve children, families, the elderly, people with disabilities, commuters, those wanting to recreate. So this transportation network is really meant to be very broad-reaching and to provide an opportunity to get around by walking or bicyclist to the largest number of people in our county. As you can imagine, all these users travel at different speeds, and that can be a challenge at times. For example, a person commuting on their bicycle is going to travel at a different speed than an elderly couple taking a leisurely stroll with their grandchildren. So to accommodate these different travel speeds, what we're really going to do is look at designated, separated space for bicyclists and pedestrians wherever we're able to do that, wherever we have enough width and enough adjoining facilities so that everybody can have an enjoyable experience. It doesn't matter what the purpose of the trip is. We're really looking at giving people an opportunity to reduce their reliance on motor vehicle trips and to enjoy the natural coastal environment as well.
Well, that's an interesting point about different travel speeds, and that takes a lot of planning. And the RTC is conducting a master planning process. So what exact function will the plan serve, Mike?
Well, the master plan, or the trail network master plan, and the accompanying environmental analysis will ultimately guide the build-out for the trail network. The network plan itself will contain the recommended alignments, which will become a backbone for the network, but it will also contain spur trails that will connect key destinations like parks and schools, employment centers, entertainment districts, commercial nodes. The spurs will also connect with bike and pedestrian facilities within the county, and also facilitate access to scenic coastal overlooks, which is a key component to the sanctuary plan. There's really three major phases to the planning process. The first phase is assessment, then analysis, and then development. And right now we're in the assessment phase, and really what we've been doing is spending quite a bit of time walking and riding and exploring the roughly 50 miles of trail corridor, trying to understand opportunities and constraints that will affect our decision making when we look for the premier alignments. This next phase is the analysis phase, where we'll begin to take and analyze various alignments and the opportunities associated with those. The goal here is to try and find a backbone spine that we can link the spurs to, so we have that complete system that gets us all along the coastline. And then finally, the third phase, the third objective is to develop a trail management and protocol for the county for the trail network. But if I could interject here a minute, there's a couple of things that I wanted to bring up about this master plan process. First of all, is our company, RM Design Group, is incredibly excited, and I say this from almost 20 years of experience in developing trails throughout the state. But I have to say that Santa Cruz County is in a unique and an enviable position in the trail planning world. And I say that because, number one, the county is about to acquire not just a rail corridor, but a coastal rail corridor. And that coastal rail corridor is coming along with a willing and supportive rail operator, Sierra Northern. That's an unusual combination. And then to add to that, the county has been blessed with an iconic coastline that has world-famous destinations as part of it. It's this whole package that really creates this unique set of traits that, frankly, we couldn't be happier to be able to help develop the trail network.
Well, that's great to be so excited about this 2-year project that you're about to embark upon. So you mentioned spur trails. Do we know where these will be located? And with the rail purchase nearing completion, I think the question on a lot of people's mind is what role is that rail corridor going to play?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all issues that are going to be identified through the development of the master plan with the community's involvement. The broad vision is to utilize this new transportation corridor that we'll have in the public domain. So we'll really be looking at utilizing the rail right-of-way as much as possible. We'll also be looking at utilizing other public lands so that we can have a separated bicycle and pedestrian path wherever that's feasible. Obviously, there are many constrained areas where we don't have enough right-of-way or where there are trestles that will require us to look at diverting the path onto the on-street network. And what we want to do there is make sure that we have robust facilities to transition bicyclists and pedestrians from the separated trails onto the next segment, and to do that in a seamless way. So we really want to take advantage of the rail right-of-way. We want to make sure that all user types are accommodated. We want to avoid gaps in the trail network, and those are some of the key planning elements. Safety and convenience is really essential to promoting non-motorized transportation trips, and the community and the master planning process will help us unfold all the specific trail alignments and spur trails that are desirable by the community.
So how long will this process take, Mike?
Well, right now the master plan is expected to take about 2 years. We're trying to pursue a more aggressive timeline at this point. The process will involve in the phases that I mentioned, but as part of that, there's 3 objectives that we wanted to make sure that we address. The number 1 is to identify and then prioritize both the short and the long-term projects so that as those are developed and funding can be secured, those can be implemented. And then second, we want to establish a set of design guidelines that govern the design of the trail so it's universally accessible and it works for everyone, and also the package of amenities that would go with that, benches and lighting, for instance. And then, as I mentioned before, the management and trail protocol. As we move through this process, the next 2 phases we're going to move into, I mentioned we're in the assessment phase now, we'll move into the analysis phase, and then finally the development phase. The 3rd phase is where we're going to tie everything together. So the assessment and the analysis that we're going to conduct will be tied into the final network plan. That final phase will then lay out and recommend the ultimate network trail alignment. It will also recommend the short and long-term projects and have those completed, and then establish those implementation guidelines as a package so that the report and the study would be a functional tool for the county to use to begin to implement those projects over time.
So there's a lot of moving parts here in this whole process. How will the RTC determine which segments to construct?
Well, the best approach here is to look for those segments that really present the fewest constraints and provide the maximized utilization. So if we were to look for that perfect segment, it would be a segment that would have the fewest constraints. It would require the least amount of funding to build. And in an ideal world, it would actually serve the highest population concentrations. Now, ultimately, the RTC will confirm that prioritization. They'll make sure that it matches the project's goals and it meets the community's will and desire. And with all that done, then the plan is for the local jurisdictions and groups to begin to be able to implement those segments as they become ready.
In terms of funding, well, we're very lucky to have Congressman Sam Farr as this project's most passionate champion. So far to date, he's acquired about $4.5 million in federal funding just for Santa Cruz County alone. And the RTC has committed another $2.3 million of locally controlled funds. The majority of these funds will be used for project construction. And then additionally, we've had a contribution from the California Coastal Conservancy, who's providing additional funds to support the coastal trail tie-in. So what other funds will be needed and how much will we need to secure?
It's hard to say exactly how much additional funds will be needed, but we certainly will need to do a lot of grant writing and fundraising once we've completed the master plan. As you identified, we have about $7 million at this point of funds that are secured. We're looking at roughly 40 to 50 miles of trails at this point, and we're early on in the planning process. And we're estimating about $1 million a mile to construct. So this adds up to a pretty big number, doing some quick math. So this project will likely be constructed, implemented segment by segment as we acquire additional funds. It's difficult to talk about such large numbers, such large sums of money in an economic climate as we're in today. But I think it's really important to note that the benefits to a bicycle and pedestrian trail network pale in comparison to the benefits. A study that was done by the Rails to Trails Conservancy confirms that, and they've looked at a number of different communities that have had similar types of projects, and they've really seen that there's a tremendous improvement to the quality of life in those neighborhoods, to their economic vitality, to property values, to communities and their ability to enjoy walking and bicycle-friendly environments. So going forward and looking at the additional funds that we're going to need and how that's going to, how we're going to acquire those, we're really going to be looking at a very broad spectrum of options at public-private partnerships, community collaborations, really looking at creative solutions to getting a very robust trail system built.
Well, this is no short-term project, to be sure. So can we talk more about how the community will be involved? You mentioned that earlier, Corey. What's planned for public participation?
Well, public participation is a really important part of this project, as it's important for all the RTC's projects. We really want to solicit community input, the local knowledge, neighborhood level knowledge that members of our very engaged community have. And we want to have the trail selection process and the design feature selection process be something that we engage in collaboratively. So we're going to have a series of public workshops, the first set actually starting this fall, and then at key junctures during the planning process. We really want the community to sign up for our ENews distribution list. We use that to notify the public regarding upcoming meetings, public hearings, major milestones that we've reached, funding that we've secured. So we would really like members of the public and our viewership to contact the Transportation Commission, sign up for this ENews distribution list through our website. We also have a pretty extensive plan for involving stakeholders and our planning agency partners through technical workshops, and I think Mike can speak best to that.
Yeah, Corey. In fact, the first thing we're going to do is meet with the stakeholders on a one-on-one basis ahead of the first series of public workshops. The goal here is to sit down and listen and really understand their thoughts and ideas about the trail network, and then understand at a deeper level the opportunities and constraints from their perspective so we can factor that into our assessment of the various alignment alternatives that we might want to study. And then the public workshops that Corey mentioned will follow the stakeholder meetings. Those are going to be interactive in nature and will occur over the life of the evolution of the network plan. The purpose of these workshops is to engage the community to solicit input and feedback at the various points along that plan's development. And then we'll also host a series of technical workshops with our agency partners. These are meant to be topic-specific with a particular aim of trying to find solutions to issues for items that come up along the corridor. In our initial assessment, we're seeing some of those. Some of the technical workshop topics would include the railroad, working within that right-of-way. There's some constrained areas. Working with agricultural operators, understanding their needs and concerns with the adjacency of the trail, and working with parks and open space groups. There's quite a bit of that sort of land holding, which is really could be a huge benefit to linking the trail together. So we'll want to make sure that we engage those folks directly. And the technical workshops, while they are technical in nature, they're open to the public for those who want to participate. We'd welcome their participation in that process.
Well, sounds very well thought out and well planned. In California, we conduct environmental analyses of transportation projects as required by the California Environmental Quality Act. What's the nature of the environmental review on this effort, and what's the purpose, Mike?
Yeah, for this project, we're going to perform a program-level environmental impact report, or a program-level EIR. The purpose of this of the EIR will be to, in the initial phase, is to guide our planning team to help us understand where some of these impacts might be so that we avoid finding alignments in environmentally unsuitable locations. And then further, as we're developing the network plan, we'll concurrently continue to develop the program level EIR, which will allow us to know even more about the environmental setting early on in the planning process. It's a fail-safe to make sure we do things correctly. And then the greatest significance of this program level EIR strategy is to minimize or streamline the implementation process of the segments later on, because the project-specific CEQA analysis can then simply tear off of the program level EIR.
Okay, very good. So the benefits of this comprehensive bike and pedestrian trail network are immense in our transportation system and to our economy, to public health, and to our appreciation of the natural environment. So thank you, Corey and Mike, for that very informative project update. And to our viewers at home, the RTC sends out ENews notices to interested members of upcoming meetings and noteworthy developments. Public meetings for this bicycle and pedestrian trail are being planned for this fall. And to receive notices about those meetings and the first workshop, you should go to our website and sign up. Also, if you have ideas for future Transportation Cafe programs, please send them to us. We're always looking for new ideas to keep this show going. So thanks for tuning in today and getting involved. We hope you'll join us again for the next edition of the RTC Transportation Cafe.
Good morning.
Hi there.
So how was your drive in this morning?
It was all right. What's new?
Well, I just heard about this cool new program that can help people start carpools. We live kind of close together. Have you ever thought about carpooling?
I'd like to give it a try. I've been spending too much money on gas and a lot of time driving, and I'm starting to feel guilty about my environmental impact.
You know, we could both cut our carbon footprint in half if we carpooled together. Did you know that for every mile you don't drive, you stop a pound of greenhouse gas from going into the air? That could really help cool the planet.
And if we carpool together, we could save a lot of time. Whoever's not driving could make some calls or get work done or even take a nap. What's this program you were mentioning?
Well, it's called Cash for Carpools, and we could each get a $25 gas card just for carpooling 12 round trips together to work.
Wow, I'd love to save that money.
What's even better is every carpool trip we take, if we record it, is an entry into the prize drawing for a $600 gas card.
That would pay for our carpool all year. I hope we win. How can I sign up?
Just go to the commutesolutions.org website, click on the Cash for Carpools link, sign up, and start tracking your trips. Remember, don't stop once you've earned the $25 gas card, because every time a carpool is another entry for the $600 grand prize.
Thanks so much for telling me about this. I'm going to go sign up, and then I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. How does 7:30 sound?
Cool, very cool.
Cash for Carpools is available for a limited time only. Sign up now to register your new carpool to work or school. Visit commutesolutions.org for details.